Today, I'll be talking about my favorite story, which happens to be my favorite video game as well. I'd like to contextualize why a story about my uncle is my favorite video game by talking firstly about my previous favorite video game and consequently telling a story about me. Honestly, little of this video will be about a story about my uncle, but please don't let this deter you. That game does play a vital part in it regardless. Thank you. When I was growing up, I had an alright childhood. Middle class, suburbia. I had an Xbox 360, a TV, my own room. I don't want to misconstrue how much I struggled as a young boy, but not all in my life was good. I had two brothers, I'll call them Peter and Tom. I was the youngest, Peter was the middle, and Tom is the oldest. They fought a lot growing up and weren't the best behaved kids, so most of my parents' focus was on managing them. It was my job to be the really good kid, and I was. I had great grades in school, read a lot, good social life, nothing that would draw any attention from my parents over my brothers. But Peter had issues. He suffered from bipolar depression and borderline personality disorder, as well as severe drug addiction and alcoholism, so my house wasn't really the nicest to be in sometimes. I would retreat to my room to avoid him, and there was my Xbox. My favorite game at the time was Borderlands 2. I escaped most of my preteens playing that game. It was great, but it started a trend of escapism in my life to avoid the craziness that was my home life. Then, when I was 13, Peter passed away from a drug overdose. To this day, we still don't know if he meant to kill himself that night. I don't think he did, but I'll tell that story another day. I need to get to the point. 2 months later, a young male friend of the family that was 20 at the time needed a place to stay for 2 weeks. He was amazing. He slept in Peter's old room, and for 2 weeks it was like I had this amazing older brother that I never got to have. I'll refer to him as Dolan from now on. At this time, Dolan loved CSGO. He was pretty good too. DMG at the time. Now, I don't know if you guys know about Counter-Strike, but that's around the top 13% of players. And to a 13-year-old me who was Silver 4 at the time, he was a god. He would watch me play CS and give me tips or take over and carry if my team was about to lose. He showed me Discord and introduced me to his friend group of other people that were around 20 at the same time. And 2 years later, we still play games together daily. Seriously, when I met them, CSGO and H1Z1 was our grind. Then PUBG got big and we played that for the longest period of time. Then Fortnite for a while. Then League of Legends. Now we play Apex Legends. I will never forget the great times and dozens of funny videos we recorded during this time. While Dolan stayed at our house, he let me sign into his Steam account on my PC. In his shared games was the game A Story About My Uncle. Now, at the time, 13-year-old me was a huge fan of Leafy Is Here, who commonly used clips of the game in his commentary videos, so I was excited to play it. I played through it. It took me around 3 hours and a ton of help from Dolan, but I had an amazing experience. The story was simple but nice, the gameplay fun. I had truly a great time beating it for the first time, and I wish I could go back and experience that again now. Flash forward a couple months later. Dolan has moved to Colorado now. I haven't touched A Story About My Uncle since I completed it with Dolan at my house. I was rather sad that day. I don't remember why, but I was thinking about Peter a lot. So I looked back to my old method of escapism. There it sat in my uninstalled Steam library. A Story About My Uncle. Something compelled me to click it, install it, and in that moment that I started the new game, I was transported back in time. It felt like Dolan was standing over my shoulder again, telling me when to click on the floating windmill, but not giving me too much information as to spoil my improvement. I played through it. 2 hours this time. Then again, as of March 13th, 2019, it took me an hour and 30 minutes in one session. That's the footage that you're watching right now. To this day, when I feel overly depressed about Peter's passing, I open up A Story About My Uncle again, and I play through it, and to this day I feel transported back to my old house, and my old bedroom, and my old computer. I can hear the bed creak as Dolan turns around on it while watching Linus Tech Tip videos. I still hear his instruction in my ears, ringing. Now, as I write this video essay, I've decided to go play it again. I don't want to spoil it, but it tells a great, innocent story with amazing platforming elements and fluid movement that make it fun and challenging but not impossible or overly tedious. I hope something I said here today resonated with some of the viewers of this, to go out and buy it or sit down and play through it again. On that note, I would like to thank you for watching this and following along with my story. I would also like to thank Dolan when he sees this, for being the best big brother I never had.